Uzaki becomes a part-time worker at the cafe, much to Senpai's dismay. And Mr. Ase's reason for hiring her was, he figured it'd be fun to have her around. To allow Uzaki to learn the proper etiquette of working in the cafe, Senpai teaches Uzaki the ropes. This leads to Uzaki growing bored fast of it, making Senpai lose his temper. Later in the day, Uzaki asks Senpai what he's going to do over summer vacation, and he answers that he's going to be holed up playing video games in his room. Disconcerted by this revelation, Uzaki suggests they go to the beach. Just then, Itsuhito enters the scene and wants in on the action. On the day of the beach outing, Ami is mortified over Uzaki's big octopi. A flashback then reveals that Itsuhito reassured that he'd take care of the transportation and lodging, just so he can keep a close eye on the two. To enjoy the beach experience in his own way, Senpai swims from a faraway distance. Noted by Ami that Senpai was merely trying to relish some alone time for himself. Once he reaches the shore, Senpai is criticized by Ami for wearing goggles and a swim cap. She then coaxes Senpai into trying to spend more time with Uzaki, which Senpai follows this advice, and is pushed over by Uzaki as it flustered her. Itsuhito then arrives with a fresh watermelon and proposes that Senpai play a game of blindfold watermelon break. Due to the mixed messages given to him by Uzaki, Senpai collapses into her and falls on top of her. Late that afternoon, the group arrived at their lodge, which turns out to be Itsuhito's family's summer home. Soon the group has a cookout, and when the topic of what they should do afterward is brought up, Uzaki and Senpai's suggestion for video games is shot down by Itsuhito, who suggests they venture out to the back hills at night. This was for an act to get Uzaki and Senpai closer to one another, adding the fear factor approach. The plan in a sense works when Uzaki steals Senpai's phone from him, causing him to chase after her. However, Senpai becomes so terrified by this experience that it's decided they should all head back to the lodge for that night. Back at the lodge, the only one awake is Uzaki, whom was playing video games. But when she approaches the tuckered-out Senpai, the following morning, as Uzaki and Senpai brush their teeth, Senpai notes how well he rested that night. So Uzaki notes that he should purchase a body pillow. Peeping in on the conversation, Itsuhito and Ami note how they must have missed an important moment between the two. After their summer break, Uzaki receives a call from Senpai, where he tells her that he needs to see her. When they meet up, she finds out he only wanted her to come with him to a cat cafe, much to her annoyance. Inside the cafe, Senpai finally able to pet a cat, making him super happy, which Uzaki comments on his creepy demeanor. She then informs Senpai that her 20th birthday is coming soon, but Senpai is too focused on the cats and didn't hear what she was saying. Enraged, Uzaki tickles Senpai's foot as punishment. While the worker tells them to keep their playtime at home. After the finished, Uzaki reminds Senpai again that her birthday is coming up, and looking forward to meet him at her party. At work, he wonders what he should get for her birthday. Elated by this predicament, Ami and Mr. Ase begins to imagine all sorts of scenarios when Senpai gives her the birthday present. They then suggest Senpai to just follow his guts, and buy the first thing that came to his mind. Following their advice, Senpai went out shopping for the present. While he is looking for the present, Senpai receives a call from Uzaki telling him she needs him by his side. As it turns out, Uzaki is just inviting Senpai to a pub because she wants to try some alcohol as it is her 20th birthday. Inside, Senpai teaches her the best ways to enjoy alcohol, which Uzaki immediately get hooked on it and couldn't stop ordering drink after drink, despite Senpai tells her to take it easy, as it is her first time drinking. Expectedly, Uzaki gets super drunk, and she starts getting touchy around Senpai in her drunken state. Unfortunately, the public transport is closed, forcing Senpai to bring her back to his place. At his apartment, Uzaki continued to annoy him, so he ignores her by pretending to be asleep. It is then she tries to win in for a kiss. But Senpai wakes up before she could do it. Flustered by this, Senpai orders he to stop her shenanigans, and they went to sleep. The following morning, Uzaki has a hangover, while Senpai cleans up the mess she left behind. Now resting, Uzaki thanks him for celebrating her birthday with her, and procs to vomit on his futon. The next day, Uzaki apologizes to Senpai and even offers to pay for ruining his futon while she was drunk, which causes an embarrassing misunderstanding among the onlookers. Later at the cafe, Senpai reluctantly told him what happened last night. He mentions that Uzaki is still feeling down about the incident last night. Using this opportunity, Ami gives him a voucher to a fireworks festival suggesting he should invite her. But when Senpai rejects it, Ami gets super angry, demanding Senpai to patch things up with her by keep complimenting her until she feels better. At the festival, Senpai notices Uzaki is still affected by the incident. So he tried various games and foods at the festival to cheer her up, but it didn't manage to lift her spirits. Remembering Ami advices, he starts by complimenting her yukata, and it seems to work immediately. However, Senpai got carried away and starts calling her cute multiple times. Now flustered, Uzaki accidentally knocks out Senpai with her pouch, causing Senpai to reminisce about the past. When they were in high school, he remembers after he teaches Uzaki to swim, they went to the same festival and watched the fireworks show together. Upon awakening, he reminisces to her about all they have done together since entering college, which he thanks her for spending time with him, and hopes she will continue accompany him. The anime continues with Suki Uzaki, Uzaki's mother, watching a TD drama about a young man falling in love with a married woman, while she is waiting for Uzaki and Senpai to arrive. Meanwhile, Senpai explains that he wants to return the leftover money back to her mom, as he feels guilty that she pays him too much for just buying a new futon. Noticing Senpai is nervous about going to her house, she calms him by mentioning her pet cats in her house, which worked like a charm. Arrived at her house, Suki introduces herself to Senpai, which she is surprised to learn her senpai is a boy. They then sit at the living room, whereas then Suki gets mad at Uzaki for staying in a boy's place, and she apologized to Senpai for the trouble she caused. Senpai then stares at the cat on her lap, which she misinterprets as he is staring at her oppai. Her misunderstanding is further proven when she hears Senpai says he wants to hold it one day, not knowing he is actually talking about the cat. At the cafe, Suki shows up to watch Uzaki work, and is surprised to see Senpai is working there as well. Ami and Mr. Ase then compliments Uzaki for being a hard worker, and her ability to get along with the customers, despite it is her first time working, which Suki expresses that she is glad her daughter is doing well. Out of the blue, she asked them if Senpai ever mentions that he prefers older women, shocking them both. Realizing the situation, they manage to clear up the misunderstanding about Senpai. After the misunderstanding is seemingly cleared up, she once again misinterprets the situation when she hears him and Uzaki talking about some roasted beans. Later at his house, Senpai inadvertently insulted her for being rude despite having a kind mother. So, Uzaki begins to monitor her mother's demeanor around the house and acts like her mother the next day. This greatly bothers Senpai, as he is not used to Uzaki for being so kind and considerate, forcing him to apologize for insulting her that day. After she returns her usual self, they get into argument, which leads to a young costumer giving them a lottery ticket so they can make up. Surprisingly, they went a one-day trip to Tottori, where two mysterious person is following them. As it turns out, the two person are Itsuhito and Ami, and they hatch a plan beforehand, planning to take them to various couples' hangout spots, in order to ensure that Uzaki and Senpai's relationship goes to the next level. When they arrived at the first spot, the Tottori sand dunes, Uzaki challenges Senpai to a race to reach the ocean first. Despite Uzaki cheats by using a surfboard, she still loses to Senpai. As they are enjoying the ocean view, Senpai notices a lovely couple are showing affections publicly, prompting Senpai to quickly drag Uzaki away, while the two watch them from afar. After that, they went to Hakuto Shrine, where Uzaki buys some rabbit cakes to share with Senpai, and they once again noticed the couple doing the same as well, which embarrassed them both. They then pray for a safe trip at the shrine, where they noticed all of the love fortunes and couples around the shrine. Finally realized the situation, Ami and Itsuhio reveal to them that Tottori is famous for being a destination for couples, much to their chagrin. After having some brief uneasiness, Senpai tells Uzaki that they are here to enjoy the trip and nothing more. But they are able to do so, as the place is riddled with couples. Next, they all went to sauna together, and when Uzaki asked to borrow Senpai towel, hearing the noise they make, the worker quickly tells them to save it in private. Following that, they roam around the town, and Itsuhito is disappointed to see their relationship hasn't changed much. But Ami notes this is just the beginning of the show. Entering the Mizuki Shigeru Road, they admire the vast variations of bronze statues built across the road. They then end their trip by visiting the museum. Now back from the trip, Senpai notices his room is getting messy, because Uzaki keeps bringing her stuff into his house. When Uzaki arrives at his place, he starts complaining to her about the mess she had made, demands they clean it up together. But his anger is mediated when she reveals that she plans on cooking a meal for him. At the cafe, when Ami puts Senpai in charge of the food prep, Uzaki questions his cooking skill, but he boastfully says he knew how to cook. In spite of that, his cooking turns out to be a disaster, earning him a huge laugh from Uzaki. Because of this, Senpai asks Uzaki to teach him how to cook, which she'd bring him over to her house, since she learned all of her cooking from Suki. While they are kneading udon dough, Suki manages to have a normal conversation with Senpai, and she realizes Senpai is actually a kind and easygoing person, despite his frightening eyes. But unfortunately, her impression of Senpai is once again affected when she misinterprets Uzaki and Senpai's conversation about petting cats. After enjoying udon noodle they made, they decide to hang out at a rock climbing gym, which after the instructor briefed them through the rules of rock climbing, they immediately begins to challenge each other. However, the competition is quickly ended when Uzaki gets stuck on the rocks, prompting her give up. Even thought she is tired, she lets Senpai go for another round while she watches him, since she knew Senpai is having a lot of fun. Sometime later, Uzaki and Ami run into Senpai at a karaoke bar. Senpai is mortified of it, because they found out he likes to sing alone at karaoke. Feeling bad for him, Ami and Uzaki try out some erotic costumes. As a way to improve his mood. In contrast, this only makes Senpai feel even more embarrassed. The following day, Senpai greets her as usual, but he stopped when a despondent Uzaki tells him that she cannot hang out with him anymore. She explains she did some unthinkable stuff and couldn't bring herself to meet him anymore. Worried for her, Senpai says he will help her in any way he can without hesitation. Hearing this, she immediately dropped the act and reveals the reason why she cannot hang out with him is she forgot to do her summer break homework. Annoyed by her tricks, Senpai closed the door on her and tells her to finish her homework by herself. At the cafe, Senpai vent out his anger about yesterday to Mr. Ase, where it is then Mr. Ase accidentally enters his back trying to lift a heavy box, forcing Senpai to send Mr. Ase to a chiropractor to fix his back, which makes Ami temporarily takes over as manager. While Senpai and Mr. Ase are at the chiropractic clinic, Ami asks Uzaki how she and Senpai first met, which she reminisces about the past when she first joined the swimming club at school. Her first impression of Senpai was scary.
よろしくお願いします。
どうも、2年の桜井です。
As it was her first time seeing such a menacing glare. But she later elaborates that the more she gets to know him, the more she realizes he is a great person. After hearing her story, Ami adds that Uzaki is beginning to talk like Senpai, insinuating they have become a lovely couple, to which Uzaki runs away in an embarrassment. The next day, out of curiosity, Uzaki asks everyone at the cafe what Senpai is like when he is drunk, as she never saw him showing any emotions. Luckily for her, Itsuhito just so happens to know the perfect plan to make Senpai drunk. The plan begins with Uzaki having a drinking party at his place to lower his guard. Continuing with that, she prepares some spicy foods for him to keep him drinking. With a finishing touch, they watch movies together, distracting him so he wouldn't notice how much he has been drinking. Now in his drunken state, Uzaki uses this opportunity to toy with him. But when Senpai confesses his true feeling to her, she starts hammering down all the beers. Itsuhito then went in to check on them, and he sends them to bed before leaving. The next morning, They are shocked to realize they slept in the same futon. They then went to the cafe, where they have a hard time remembering what happened last night. Upon knowing they slept in the same futon yesterday, Mr. Ase immediately closes the cafe and requests them to elaborate the story. But they are disappointed when they says nothing really happened that night. Once summer break is over with, Uzaki and Senpai return to campus, where he tells her that they will always be together whenever they hang out. Greetings, it's Makoto-chan. Our journey today may have concluded, but the tales of the anime world are endless. Honor our tales by pressing the subscribe button and let the bells of notifications ring. Peruse these other stories, and may we meet again under the starry night.